So in this tutorial we're going to create this kinetic typography or animated text of swirling text in a sort of tornado-y kind of fashion. So as always, I'm going to be working in Fusion, so the first thing we need to do is get ourselves a Fusion comp. So come up to the top of the screen, check your effects library is turned on, come down to effects and then grab a Fusion composition. Now I'm working in 24 frames a second and the comp is 8 seconds long. So put your playhead over the comp and go into Fusion. So the first thing we're going to need to do is create our two text ribbons. So we will bring in a text node and we will put in whatever we want. So I will go with my name. And I'm going to do this twice just so that we've got a little bit of wriggle room. It also makes the ribbon slightly narrower, which works better. Cool. So if we now bring our text into the viewer, what we need to do is resize it so that it's just slightly narrower than the edge of our screen. Next we're going to merge that onto a black background, so bring a background node in from here, take the output of your text onto your background and this will create a merge, which if we view is our white text and our black background. To make the ribbon we bring a rectangle node, connect it to our background. With the rectangle node selected, if you come over to your inspector, you want the width to be 1 and you want the height to be just slightly higher than your text. So that's our white text on black background. Next we are going to make a copy of that, but we're going to invert the colour. So what we'll do, click away from anything, shift spacebar, invert colour. Now if we pipe from the merge into the invert colour and look at that in the other viewer, you see that we have the whole screen filled white. So just what we need to do is take a second output from our rectangle and just pipe it into the mask input of your invert colour. So now we have, if I go to two views, now we have both white on black and black on white. And we know that the sizes are the same because it's all coming from the same sort of text and background merge. So next we need to animate this, and to do that we're going to use the transform node. So we're going to come to our hotbar and transform is here. I'm going to bring in a transform node. We're going to take a second output from merge 1 and pipe it into the transform node. Now if we drag the transform node into our viewer, nothing's happened at the minute. What we're going to do, we're going to take our playhead and bring it all the way back to frame 0. We're going to keyframe center X and Y in the inspector, and we're going to change center X to 1.5. We're going to come to the midpoint, which for me is frame 96. We're going to change center X to 0.5. And then we're going to come to the very end and change center X to -0.5. Now if we play through, our ribbon slides across the screen. What we want is for that to be a continual motion, so if we stay in our transform node, come to edges and change edges to wrap, and there we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this transform node, so Command C, click away from all your nodes, Command V, and then pipe your inverted colour output into this second transform node. And now we have both our animated ribbons. Now to make this a little bit easier to follow, we're going to need to rename some nodes. So if you come to transform 1, select it and press F2 and simply type white on black, or WOB, which is this one. And then for the other transform node, again press F2, and this time we're going to do black on white. And there are two ribbons set up and ready to go. So next we need to start building the bands going around a circular object. That circular object is going to be a cylinder. In actual fact it's going to be two cylinders, but we'll do them one at a time. So come up to our 3D shape, or shape 3D, drag it onto our flow, and if you come up to where it says shape and change that to cylinder, if we put that into our viewer, I'm going to zoom out by pressing Command and scrolling the middle mouse wheel so that you can see. You can rotate by pressing Alt or Option and holding the middle mouse button so you can move around. So now we need to get our white on black ribbon to go around this cylinder, and to do that you simply take your output from your white on black transform node and pipe it into your shape 3D. It automatically defaults to the green material input. Now we're going to bring a second shape 3D, and we're going to view that one, and we're going to change it to cylinder, and this time we're going to bring our black on white ribbon, and you get the same effect with the ribbon wrapping around the cylinder. We're now going to merge these two cylinders together with a merge 3D node. On the surface you can't see them both, so what we're going to do, if you come back to shape 3D1, and we're going to rename it, so F2 again, and we're going to say white on black underscore 1, and for OK, and then for shape 3D2 we're going to do the same, black on white underscore 1. So if we come to white on black 1, and you see you've got angle here in your inspector, what we're going to do is we're going to bring the end dot and just drag it down to 180. So half a circle is now black, and then we'll do black on white, and this time I'm going to drag the start up to 180. So now you've got your black on white around the rear of the cylinder, and your white on black around the front of the cylinder. It appears as though it's one cylinder, but it's not, it's two. So next we need to slightly rotate the cylinders to give the sort of spiral effect. So we're going to go to white on black 1 first, which is the front, and we are going to go to transform, and then rotate, and we're going to rotate on the x-axis. Now we want this to be up to about 10, and if we come to black and white, which is our white band at the back, again come to transform, but this time we're going to make it -10, so they've gone in the opposite direction. Cool. So this basically makes up one of your layers, and we're going to build up, so we've got 4 layers. So I will walk through layer 2, and then after that I'm going to speed it up because it gets a bit tedious otherwise. So select white and black one, black and white one, and the merge node. Command C to copy, click outside of any of your nodes, Command V to paste. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in, again from the hotbar, if you come to the right hand edge you've got merge 3D, I'm going to bring in another merge 3D. This one will be our sort of main scene control, so we can pipe our 2 merges from our bands into that. At the minute these need to be renamed, so white on black F2, white on black 1_1_1 becomes white on black _2, black on white _1_1, F2 to rename, and becomes _2. Now they don't have any material, so if we view that, you've got these 2 white cylinders, so we need to add our materials in, which are here. So if we just move those back slightly to get a bit of room, so white on black from the output into white on black 2, black on white from the output into black on white 2. At the minute nothing's changed because they're laying on top of each other, so what we need to do is after merge 3D 1_1 we're going to add a 3D transform node, so shift space and type transform, and it's transform 3D that we want, and pop that in. What we can do with this is we can, again in the controls window with the translation, we can translate in the y-axis. What that means is we can basically lift it up. What we're doing is we'll lift it. This is all quite rough at the minute, we will fine tune it later on. We just need to get our 4 bands in for the time being, so that's lifted it up. I'll now repeat that process for the next 2 layers. Okay, so we've basically got our stack of ribbons. Now we need to get them to look A, seamless, and B, kind of at the right angle and stuff. So what I'm going to do is in this merge 3D2, I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to click on camera 3D, and I'm also going to, no, I'll come back to the spotlights. I will light it in a minute, but I'll do that later. I'm going to click on render 3D. This will give us our 2D output, which we can pipe into our media out, which if we view at the minute looks daft because we need to reposition our camera. So I'm going to bring merge 3D2 into the left hand viewer. I'm going to use Option and my middle mouse button to rotate around, Command and my middle mouse button to scroll into zoom just so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to bring the camera along the Z axis backwards so that we start to see what we're looking at. I'm also going to bring the camera up using the Y value, and what I'm aiming for is to get that roughly in the middle and filling the screen. Next I'm going to copy this Y value and I'm going to come down to the pivot point for the camera and check use target, and I'm going to copy or paste rather that value from here into here. So the camera is now basically looking in a straight line at our swirly things. What I found was that if I bring the camera slightly off to one side, it worked better for sort of hiding the join. So just rotate it a little bit. Cool. Now the fun starts. Now we're going to have to go through and adjust each of these shape 3Ds so that this white band links to this black band, so this needs to come down or the black needs to go up. So we will come to white on black 1, which is this bottom band. So the bottom two are 1, next two are 2, next two are 3, and the final two are 4. So white on black, in fact I'm not going to change that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the black on white, which is this white one here, down. So with that selected, come over to your transform tab, and in the translation we just need to drop the Y value, and what we're looking for is for the two edges to line up as close as we can get them. What might be helpful is to zoom in so that we can see what we're doing. Now this takes quite a lot of fiddling. You need to look at your X and Y values, were the ones I found sort of so next I'm going to scroll up and come across, and I'm going to bring this black on white 2 down a little bit. So black on white 2. Again, come to the transform, in your translation, drag your Y down and move your X so that it hides the join. And now again we're kind of working up, so this black, white on black needs to go up, so that's white on black 2. I say this is tedious, but you'll see as you're doing it. So kind of from here on in I'm going to carry on lining things up, but I'm going to speed it up a bit because otherwise we're going to be here all day. Okay, so we've ended up with this kind of effect. Now the difficulty with this is it's not a 3D object. It's not something that you can send your camera whizzing round and photograph from all sorts of funky angles. It has to stay there, your camera has to stay there. We're basically producing a 2D image but using a 3D scene for effect. You shift your camera, your view changes, and all your joins become obvious again. So what have we got so far? If we hit play, we've got this so far, which is our text swirling around, which is kind of what we wanted. So you can take that straight out as a 2D scene and manipulate it. What I did was added a couple of spotlights just to make it look a bit prettier, so we can do that quickly. Bring in a couple of spotlights. Again, they're just in the hotbar here. Pipe them in to our scene. In fact, we'll pipe them in one at a time. So this first one, if we come into the transform and we can whiz it out along the X axis so that we can find it. No, we don't want to rotate it. Silly assignment. We want to move it along the X axis so we can find it. So it's here. What we're going to do is we are going to come into our camera. We're going to get this value of 0.918, copy it back into the spotlight, use target, and we're going to paste that Y value in to the pivot target so that the spotlight looks at the same point as the camera does. What we're also going to do is we're going to come to our render 3D node and we're going to turn on lights and shadows, and straight away you can see the effect of the light. So we can now manipulate this spotlight to give something like the effect we want. So we can bring it up. We can maybe move it off to the side. Like so. Now what you'll notice is that it doesn't light up the back side of the cylinder. That's because this is an internal surface and by default it's not set to light up. So what I'm going to do is add our second spotlight. This time in the transform node I am going to translate it into negative Z space that goes behind our object. And if we spin round you can see the spotlight here. Again we're going to use target, we're going to use target and we're going to paste that same Y value of 0.198, and now you can see it's lit up our back side of the cylinder or cylinders. If you want to fancy around and mess with the colours and stuff on these, feel free, you can do. If you want to adjust them wherever you want, you can do. But that's effectively the thing that we want. Now to get it to be a tornado shape, we select render 3D1, shift space bar and look for warp grid, or grid warp, sorry. And we bring the grid warp node in. You can see all these green lines on the viewer here. We don't want all those, so we come to the inspector and we change the X and Y grid size down to 1. You can also reduce the magnetic distance just so that you've got a smaller circle. So now what we're going to do, we're going to grab here, shrink that, go to one viewer, and we've effectively got a 1x1 grid with a handle at each corner. And all we need to do to get that tornado shape is move the handles. So we're going to bring the two bottom ones in to give a taper at the bottom, and what we can do is just bring them down off the edge of the screen slightly to bring the, so we're filling up more of the screen, and then the top two we're going to bring way out to the side, and again you can use them to get your tornado looking how you want it. So now we can come back. You can either leave it as it is on a transparent background, or you can just merge. So grab a background from your hotbar and merge your grid warp over your background and connect that to immediate out, and then you can change your background to whatever colour you want. Or as I say, you can just leave it on a transparent background and then you can overlay it onto whatever you want. And that is basically that. If you just let this cache, and there you have your spiraling tornado text. I hope you found this interesting, entertaining and or useful. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button and the notification button. Leave a comment if you want. If there's anything that you would like me to have a look at and see if I can make a tutorial for, again, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. Thanks a lot. See you on the next one. Cheers.